invasion must begin here, by the spring.
We shall land our troops exactly as planned. The dagger marks the spot.
O people, there is nowhere to flee. The sea is behind you, and the enemy is in front of you.
The Battle of Guadalete, where King Roderick's army crumbles. Arab and Berber tensions run high, with the Christians under Muslim rule.
I stand before you today to declare that this land, the jewel of the West, hear this proclamation. We hereby establish the Emirate of Cordoba. Abd Al-Rehman III declares himself Caliph and builds Madinat al-Zahra.
Ziryab, the musician, introduces new cultural ideas.
The Caliphate of Cordoba fractures into rival Taifa kingdom. Christian banners move south, not as visitors, but as destiny.
There is a moment in history when everything changes. When borders dissolve, when crowns fall, when the very soul of a civilization is rewritten in blood and fire. Spain in the year 711 stands at that precipice. But what brings a kingdom to its knees is not always the strength of its enemies. Sometimes, it is the rot that festers within, unseen, unspoken, until the walls collapse and the invaders pour through gates opened not by force, but by treachery. On the southern shores of Iberia, the night air carries whispers of distant wars, of crumbling empires, of faiths colliding across deserts and seas. The Visigothic kingdom, which had ruled the peninsula for nearly 3 centuries, stands alone against the gathering storm. Its churches rise high, its nobles sit in gilded halls, its king wears a crown heavy with the weight of a dying world. But beneath the surface, something has begun to unravel. Succession wars have left wounds that refuse to heal. Brothers turn against brothers. Lords plot in shadowed corridors. And in the darkness, a betrayal takes shape that will reshape Europe for 800 years. Across the narrow strait that separates 2 continents, another force is watching. In North Africa, the armies of the Umayyad Caliphate have just completed their conquest of the Maghreb. They have turned the Berber tribes from enemies into soldiers, from resistors into believers. The governor, Musa ibn Nusayr, is a man of ambition and vision, a conqueror who has spent years pacifying the wildlands west of Egypt, bringing hostile kingdoms to heel, converting populations that once fought him into armies that now serve him. He has built an empire of sand and stone, but his eyes are always searching for the next horizon. And now, his eyes turn northward, to the glittering prize beyond the water, to Spain, weakened, divided, ripe for the taking. But he does not yet know that the gates will be opened from within, by a man whose name will become synonymous with the word traitor, whose reasons for betrayal remain shrouded in legend and shadow. The year is 710. King Witiza of the Visigoths has just died, and the kingdom tears itself apart over who will succeed him. In the chaos, a military commander named Roderick seizes the throne, brushing aside the claims of Witiza's sons. The nobility splinters. Some support the new king. Others refuse to bend the knee. Ancient feuds resurface. Loyalties shift like sand. The kingdom that once expelled the Roman Empire from its borders, that once stood united against invaders, now turns its swords upon itself. And in this moment of fracture, in this instant of vulnerability, history changes course. Somewhere in the fortress city of Ceuta, on the African side of the strait, a governor named Julian watches events unfold across the water with cold, calculating eyes. The chronicles of later centuries will try to explain what happens next with tales of violated daughters and personal revenge. They will speak of Julian's daughter, Florinda, sent to the court of King Roderick for her education, and of a king whose appetites led him to dishonor her. They will say that Julian, consumed by rage and shame, opened the gates of Europe to the armies of Islam as an act of vengeance. But the truth, as always, is more complex, more sinister, more human. Whether driven by rage or ambition, by wounded pride or political calculation, whether his daughter's fate was real or a convenient fiction to justify the unjustifiable, Julian makes a choice that will echo across centuries. He crosses the strait in secret. He travels to Kerwa, to the court of Musa ibn Nusayr, and there, in hushed conversations away from prying ears, he speaks words that will doom a kingdom. He tells Musa of the weakness of the Visigothic state, of armies divided and loyalties fractured, of a land ready to fall like overripe fruit from a dying tree. He offers something invaluable: knowledge, ships, safe passage, intelligence about the disposition of forces and the allegiances of nobles. He promises that if the Muslims come, he will guide them, shelter them, show them where to strike. What Musa offers in return remains unknown, lost to history. Gold? Territory? Revenge? Or simply the satisfaction of watching the kingdom that wronged him burn? The bargain is struck. The invasion will proceed. In the spring of 711, Musa makes his move, but carefully, cautiously. He does not commit his full force. Instead, he sends a subordinate, a Berber general named Tariq ibn Ziyad, with a modest force of 7,000 men, mostly Berber warriors with a few hundred Arab cavalry. This is not yet a conquest. It is a probe, a test, a raid to see if Julian's promises hold true. In April, Tariq's ships cross the strait under cover of darkness, landing at the base of a massive rock that juts from the sea like a sentinel. The Muslims name it Jabal Tariq, the Mountain of Tariq. History will know it as Gibraltar. The first Muslim soldiers set foot on European soil, and the old world shudders without yet knowing why. And then, according to legend, Tariq does something that will be remembered forever. Standing on that beach with the sea behind him and unknown lands before him, he orders his ships burned. His men watch in horror as the vessels that brought them are consumed by flames, smoke rising into the Spanish sky. There is no retreat now. No escape. Only victory or death. Tariq addresses his army, and the words that later chroniclers attribute to him cut through the morning air like a blade.
Warriors,
O my
where will
warriors,
you go?
whither would you
Behind
flee?
the sea.
Behind you
the
is the
enemy.
sea,
There is no
before you
retreat,
the enemy.
only the strength of
You
your
have
courage
left
and
now
perseverance.
only the... Whether these exact words were spoken or invented by poets generations later matters less than what they represent. A point of no return, a moment when men accept that they will either conquer or die on foreign soil. King Roderick is far to the north, campaigning against the Basques, when word reaches him of the landing. At first, he dismisses it as a raid, nothing more. But the reports keep coming. The Muslim force is not withdrawing. They are advancing inland. They are meeting with allies, Christian lords who have turned against their king, supporters of Witiza's deposed heirs who see an opportunity for revenge. Roderick realizes too late the scale of the threat. He abandons his northern campaign and marches south with desperate speed, gathering what forces he can along the way. But his army is a patchwork, hastily assembled, riven with doubt and disloyalty. He commands men who do not trust him, who perhaps hope for his defeat. In July of 711, the two armies meet somewhere near the Guadalete River in the province of Cadiz. The exact location is lost to history, but the outcome is not. Roderick commands a larger force, perhaps as many as 25,000 men, against Tariq's 7,000. On paper, the Visigoths should win, but numbers mean nothing when the heart of an army is poisoned. As the battle begins, sections of the Visigothic line, supporters of the deposed heirs of Witiza, suddenly withdraw or defect. Some say they simply fled. Others whisper they joined the Muslim side, turning their weapons against their own countrymen. The Visigothic army collapses into chaos, its formations disintegrating, its commanders screaming orders that no one follows. King Roderick, wearing his royal armor and fighting to the last, disappears into the carnage. His body is never found. Some say he drowned fleeing across the river. Others believe he was killed and his corpse hidden to demoralize his followers. All that remains is his jeweled cloak, found trampled into the mud, the last remnant of Visigothic kingship. The Battle of Guadalete is over in a single day, and with it ends more than 2 centuries of Gothic rule. But this is only the beginning. What should have been a probing raid has become something far greater. Tariq does not withdraw. With his victory, resistance crumbles like walls before an earthquake. He marches north, and city after city opens its gates. Toledo, the Visigothic capital, falls with barely a fight. The speed of the conquest is staggering, almost incomprehensible. Within months, Tariq controls most of central Spain. Musa ibn Nusayr, realizing the magnitude of what is happening and anxious that his subordinate is claiming too much glory, crosses the strait himself with 18,000 reinforcements. Together, they sweep across the peninsula like a tide no one can stop. By the year 718, just 7 years after that first landing, nearly all of Spain and Portugal are under Muslim control. Only in the far north, in the mountains of Asturias, do small pockets of Christian resistance survive, huddling in valleys and caves, refusing to surrender, nursing dreams of reconquest that will take 7 centuries to fulfill. The Umayyad Caliphate has gained a new province, a territory they call Al Andalus, derived perhaps from the name of the Vandals who once lived there, or from ancient words now lost to time. And across Europe, Christian kingdoms watch in horror as one of their own is swallowed whole by an empire from across the sea. But conquest is not the same as control. The Muslim forces that now rule Spain are themselves divided. The army is a mixture of Arabs and Berbers, of recent converts and longtime believers, of men seeking fortune and men seeking paradise. The Arabs consider themselves superior and claim the best lands, the fertile valleys, the established cities, the routes of trade. The Berbers, who did most of the fighting and dying, receive harsher territories and lesser rewards. Mountain regions, frontier zones where danger still lurks. Resentment simmers beneath the surface, occasionally exploding into violence. Civil administration is chaotic. The new rulers must govern a population overwhelmingly Christian, speaking a language they do not know, living by customs they do not understand. For the first decades, Al Andalus is not a stable state. It is a volatile frontier, ruled by a succession of governors sent from Damascus, each struggling to impose order on a land that refuses to be tamed. And then, in 750, everything changes again. Far to the east, in the heartland of the Islamic world, the Umayyad Caliphate is overthrown in a brutal revolution. The Abbasid family rises to power in a wave of blood, systematically hunting down and murdering every member of the Umayyad dynasty they can find. Across the empire, Umayyad princes are slaughtered at banquets where they thought themselves safe, assassinated in their beds in the dead of night, executed in public squares to terrorize any who might resist. The new rulers want no rivals, no claimants, no survivors. The dynasty that ruled Islam for nearly a century is being erased from existence. But one escapes. His name is Abd Al-Rehman, a young prince of the Umayyad line, barely 20 years old. He flees across North Africa, hunted by Abbasid assassins who dog his every step, moving from refuge to refuge, always one step ahead of death. He is alone, powerless, a fugitive in a world that has turned against him, carrying nothing but his bloodline and his will to survive. But Abd Al-Rehman possesses something rare: a will to survive, a vision for the future, and the cold intelligence to make it real. He learns that in distant Al Andalus, far from the reach of the new Abbasid rulers in Baghdad, there are Umayyad loyalists, Arab settlers who remember the old dynasty with reverence, who still speak the name of his murdered family with respect. He sees an opportunity where others see only exile. In 755, he crosses into Spain, gathering supporters as he goes. Soldiers who remember his grandfather's reign, opportunists who see in him a chance for power, exiles like himself seeking a new beginning. The current governor, sent by the Abbasids, tries to resist, but Abd Al-Rehman moves with ruthless efficiency, playing factions against each other, promising rewards, threatening destruction. By 756, he has taken control of Córdoba and declared himself Emir of Al Andalus. He does not claim the title of Caliph, not yet, that would be too bold, but he makes clear that he answers to no one in Baghdad. Al Andalus becomes an independent emirate, the last Umayyad realm, a kingdom built from the ashes of a fallen dynasty. Under Abd Al-Rehman and his successors, Al Andalus begins to transform. The chaos of conquest gives way to order. The Emirate of Córdoba becomes a center of power, wealth, and culture. Córdoba itself, once a minor Roman city, grows into one of the largest and most magnificent cities in the world. By the 10th century, it will have 500,000 inhabitants, more than any city in Christian Europe, rivaling Baghdad and Constantinople. Its streets are paved and lit at night with oil lamps, a marvel unseen in Paris or London, which remain dark, muddy, dangerous after sunset. Aqueducts bring fresh water from the mountains. Public baths, numbering in the hundreds, serve neighborhoods rich and poor, a luxury unthinkable in the north. Libraries hold tens of thousands of manuscripts, preserving the wisdom of Greece, Rome, Persia, and India. Scholars translate texts from Arabic to Latin, from Greek to Hebrew, creating a bridge of knowledge between East and West that will fuel the European Renaissance centuries later. The Great Mosque of Córdoba rises as the symbol of this new civilization. Begun by Abd Al-Rehman I on the site of a Visigothic church, it grows with each successive ruler, expanding outward in waves of arches and columns, becoming larger and more magnificent with each generation. Inside, a forest of pillars supports double-tiered arches of red brick and white stone, creating a space that feels infinite, eternal, like walking through a grove of stone trees. The aesthetic is unlike anything in the Islamic world, blending Visigothic and Roman architectural elements with innovations from Damascus and the East. It is not purely Arab nor purely Spanish. It is something new, a synthesis, the architectural embodiment of Al Andalus itself, a place where worlds collide and merge into something unprecedented. But this is not a utopia. The society that emerges in Al Andalus is rigidly hierarchical, stratified by religion and ethnicity in ways that shape every aspect of life. At the top are the Arab Muslims, the conquerors and their descendants, who hold the positions of power and prestige, who staff the courts and command the armies. Below them are the Berbers, who did much of the fighting but receive fewer rewards, who are Muslim but not Arab, believers but not equals. Next come the Muwalladin, Iberians who convert to Islam, seeking advantage or genuine belief, but who never quite shed the taint of their origins. And at the bottom are the Dhimmi, Jews and Christians who refuse to convert. They are tolerated, not persecuted, protected by Islamic law, but they are not equal. They pay the jizya, a special tax for non-Muslims. They face restrictions on dress and behavior, forbidden from wearing green, required to wear identifying badges. They cannot testify against Muslims in court, cannot hold positions of authority over believers, cannot own Muslim slaves, cannot build new places of worship or repair old ones without permission. Some later historians will call this coexistence a golden age of tolerance. Others will call it structural oppression. The truth lies somewhere in the tension between those extremes, in the lived experience of people navigating a system that protected them but never accepted them as fully equal. And yet, for all its inequalities, Al Andalus becomes a place where ideas cross borders in ways they cannot elsewhere. Christian scribes copy Arabic texts, preserving knowledge that would otherwise be lost. Jewish philosophers write in Arabic about theology and metaphysics, creating new schools of thought. Muslim scholars study Greek philosophy that is banned or forgotten in Baghdad, translating Aristotle and Plato, preserving works that will later return to Europe and ignite the Renaissance. The rigid orthodoxies of both Christian and Muslim worlds soften at the edges in Spain, creating spaces for inquiry, debate, and creativity that feel dangerous and exhilarating. In Córdoba, the poet and scholar Ibn Hazm writes the first detailed treatise on romantic love, analyzing emotions with scientific precision. The physician Al-Zarawi compiles a 30-volume medical encyclopedia that will be used in European universities for 5 centuries. pioneering surgical techniques still recognized today. The inventor Abbas ibn Firnas attempts human flight with a glider, launching himself from a tower and gliding briefly before crashing. A failure, but one that inspires dreamers for generations.
Ziryab, the musician, introduces new cultural ideas.
Introducing the concept of seasonal fashion, establishing etiquette for dining, even popularizing new hairstyles. Al Andalus becomes a laboratory of culture, a crossroads where civilizations meet not just in conflict but in collaboration. The land itself transforms under Muslim rule. Engineers construct sophisticated irrigation systems, qanats and norias, underground channels and water wheels that bring water to lands previously too dry for cultivation. They introduce crops from across the Islamic world: rice from India, oranges from China, sugarcane from Persia, cotton from Egypt. The agricultural revolution they initiate makes Spain fertile in ways it has never been before, supporting larger populations, generating wealth that funds the construction of palaces and libraries. The techniques they develop will outlast their rule, shaping Spanish agriculture for centuries to come. In 929, Abd Al-Rehman III, descendant of the first emir, makes a bold declaration. He proclaims himself caliph, equal to the Abbasid ruler in Baghdad and the Fatimid ruler in Cairo. It is an act of supreme confidence, a statement that Al Andalus is no longer a province but an independent power, a civilization in its own right. The Caliphate of Córdoba reaches its zenith under his rule. He commands powerful armies that push back Christian kingdoms in the north and raid as far as the Pyrenees. He builds a vast palace complex called Madinat al-Zahra just outside Córdoba, a city within a city that takes 40 years to construct and employs 10,000 workers at its height. The palace is said to have 4,000 columns, brought from Rome and Constantinople and Carthage. Its walls are decorated with carved marble and precious stones. Its gardens contain exotic animals and plants from across the known world. Christian kings from the north send embassies, not as equals but as supplicants, seeking peace with the most powerful ruler in the peninsula, bearing tribute and pledges of loyalty. For a brief, shining moment, Al Andalus stands at the height of its glory, a rival to the greatest powers of the medieval world, a beacon of learning and culture that draws scholars and merchants and adventurers from 3 continents. But all empires contain the seeds of their own destruction, and Al Andalus is no exception. The Caliphate of Córdoba begins to fracture in the early 11th century. The causes are many: succession disputes that divide the ruling family, ethnic tensions between Arabs and Berbers that never fully heal, resentment from the Muwallidin who never fully gain equality despite their conversion, economic strain from constant warfare, the simple exhaustion of a system that has lasted too long. In 1031, the Caliphate collapses entirely, fragmenting into dozens of small kingdoms called taifas. Al Andalus, once unified under a single ruler, becomes a patchwork of rival states: Seville, Granada, Zaragoza, Toledo, Badajoz, each ruled by its own king, each competing with its neighbors, each claiming to be the true successor to the glory of Córdoba. They are wealthy, cultured, sophisticated. Their courts still produce poetry and philosophy. Their cities still boast libraries and gardens, but they are weak. And in the north, the Christian kingdoms of Castile, Aragon, and Leon are growing stronger, hungrier, more united in their purpose. The slow reconquest of Spain, which will take centuries, has begun. The Muslims rulers of the Taifa kingdoms, desperate to survive, make a devil's bargain. They invite warriors from North Africa, first the Almoravids, then the Almohads, to help them fight the Christians. These new forces are stricter, more fundamentalist, less tolerant of the cultural synthesis that defined Al Andalus. They view the refined courts of the Taifas with suspicion, seeing in their poetry and music and philosophy a deviation from pure Islam. The delicate balance between faiths begins to crumble. Tolerance gives way to suspicion. Coexistence gives way to conflict. The world of Al Andalus, which once seemed eternal, begins to fade like a dream upon waking. The end, when it comes, is slow and grinding. City by city, kingdom by kingdom, the Christian forces advance. Toledo falls in 1085, a psychological blow that shakes Muslim Spain to its core. Zaragoza falls in 1118. Córdoba, the jewel of Al Andalus, the city of 500,000 souls, falls in 1236. Seville, last great Taifa, falls in 1248. By the end of the 13th century, only the small emirate of Granada remains, clinging to the southern coast, paying tribute to survive, maintaining a precarious existence through diplomacy and gold. It endures for another 2 centuries, an isolated remnant, building the Alhambra Palace as a final monument to what once was, until that final day in January of 1492 when the last Muslim ruler, Boabdil, surrenders the keys to the Alhambra to Ferdinand and Isabella. As he rides into exile, his mother speaks words that history preserves.
Weep like a woman, for what you could not defend like a man.
8 centuries of Muslim rule in Spain end not with a battle but with a sigh, not with fire but with tears. But the legacy does not end. Walk through Córdoba today and the great mosque still stands, though it has been a cathedral for 800 years. The arches still soar. The columns still march into shadow. The space still feels infinite, transcendent, a testament to hands that built not for themselves but for eternity. In Granada, the Alhambra rises against the mountains, its walls inscribed with poetry in Arabic that speaks of paradise and loss, its courtyards echoing with the sound of water, its beauty a physical ache, a reminder of what was lost. In the Spanish language, thousands of words, algebra, algorithm, alcohol, admiral, alcazar, acequia, carry their Arabic origins like genetic memory, like ghosts embedded in grammar. The agricultural systems that made Spain fertile, the architectural forms that define its cities, the music that thrums through flamenco with its quarter tones and rhythmic complexity, all bear traces of Al Andalus, fingerprints of a vanished world pressed into the present. Spain was changed forever by the crossing of that strait in 711, by the collapse of a kingdom in a single day, by the vision of rulers who built a civilization at the edge of 2 worlds. Al Andalus was born in betrayal and conquest, flourished in an uneasy synthesis of faiths and cultures, and died in slow defeat. Its story is not one of heroes or villains but of humans. Ambitious, flawed, brilliant, cruel, creative, destructive, building and destroying in equal measure. 800 years is a long time for a dream to live. And even now, in ruins and echoes, in words and stones, that dream refuses to die completely. It lingers in the twilight, a ghost of what was, a reminder that civilizations rise and fall, that borders shift and religions clash, but the human need to create beauty, to seek knowledge, to find meaning in the clash of cultures, that endures beyond conquest, beyond time, beyond memory, inscribed forever in the stones of a place once called Al Andalus, the land where 3 faiths met and mingled, the kingdom that rose from ashes and returned to them, the dream that changed the world and haunts.